The time is now 7 o'clock. I'd like to call the meeting of the Middle Chattahoochee Regional Water and Sewer Authority to order. We will begin with roll call. We'll ask Secretary Davis to please commence roll call.
The Honorable Sonia Filligame, Chair.
Present.
The Honorable Mayor Vince Williams.
Present.
The Honorable Vice Chair Mario Avery. The Honorable Mayor Teresa Thomas Smith.
Present.
The Honorable Councilman Brian Jones.
Present.
The Honorable Councilman Nathan Slayton.
Present.
The Honorable City Manager Tony Phillips.
Okay, and I understand Mayor Avery will be joining us shortly. My first item of business is to approve the Water Authority's minutes as of the November 13th meeting minutes. The minutes were advanced in our packets. Hopefully, everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes. At this time, I entertain a motion regarding the minutes.
Motion to approve. Second.
So moved, properly second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Like sign. Our minutes stand as approved. Okay. And next we have the audit by Malden and Jenkins. As you may recall, the draft audit was submitted prior to the last meeting to give everyone proper time to review it. It was included and sent to all of the members. Is there a motion regarding the audit ending December 31, 2024? Okay.
Does that just need to be approved?
It needs to be approved so that I can go ahead and sign the representation letter.
I move to accept the audit as submitted.
Okay.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion at this time? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Like sign. All right, the audit stands as approved. Okay. Next, I want to ask the board if you are amenable. I know we have some guests here with sustainability partners, and as a courtesy to them, are you all amenable with sustainability partners making their presentation, or did you want to wait later in the agenda, just as a courtesy for time?
I'm fine with it.
Moving
No,
on.
it's okay? Okay. All right, so at this time, we'll ask sustainability partners if they wouldn't mind, please, coming forward.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening.
Well, as you all know, I'm not with Sustainability Partners, but I'm here with them. I mean, I don't work for them, obviously, but I'm here as a part of the team, let's say.
You know them.
I do know them, yes. Yeah, I do know all three of them, so that's all right. So I appreciate that. And again, my name is Hamilton Holmes, for the record. I think I know everybody except for, I don't think I've met you, sir, but, hello. Yeah, nice to meet you as well. And you all know that I work for an architectural design firm, and we have worked with Fairburn designing their new fire station that opened up this summer, and we've worked with Union City, helping with the interior design of your city hall, and have not had an opportunity to work with Palmetto yet, but hopefully we can do that at some point down the road. And you and I have had some conversations as well. So, but I'm here this evening to bring forward a firm called Sustainability Partners. I met Eric Street, the gentleman sitting over here to my right, about a year and a half ago, working with another mutual client. And one of the things that I try to do is help connect people together, whether my firm may work with something or not. So I think many of you know I grew up in Southwest Atlanta off of Cascade Road in 285. Hung out all on this side of town when I was younger, I would say, and had a lot of friends in different places. But the point being is that I care about South Fulton and Southwest Atlanta, just in general. So I want to see us be successful. I mean, you all are doing a great job leading your cities now. But, one thing I know that's been sort of a challenge for you is dealing with some of the water issues, that you may have here. I'm not going to get into detail on that, but when I thought of this firm, after I learned about some of the challenges you all have with this opportunity to build your own facility potentially, and I said, well, let me reach out to sustainability, see if they're interested. And then, I came to, I think it was the September meeting and had a chance to meet, the rest of the team here that works with you all. And, so that's why we're here today. So I just want to give a little background so everybody understands kind of, where this is coming from. So I'm going to stop there and let them come forward now. And thank you for letting us come a little earlier in the agenda. We're going to try to run her back to the airport to catch a plane tonight. So this does help the timetable a little bit. And without further ado, I'm going to ask Carla to come on up and start the presentation.
You may want to use Mr. Jones's Porsche out there.
Okay. Wow.
Okay, do I control this? I do. Okay, I see the worn off side, is that it?
Okay.
On behalf of Sustainability Partners and my partners, Eric Street and Bert Carson, I just want to say thank you for giving us this opportunity. Sustainability Partners is a public service benefit company. And there we go. And we deliver infrastructure to municipalities, authorities, hospitals, and cities. But I'll give you a little bit of background about myself. I started out in policy. I worked on Capitol Hill for a few years, working with the majority leader of the Senate at the time, and then migrated back to Mississippi, where I'm from, and went into engineering. And no, I'm not an engineer, but I'm the talker that the engineers can't talk. So ended up in Mississippi and was recruited by a public works director in the city of Jackson, Mississippi. I don't know if you've heard of that. Some of our woes that we have. So in my public works administration, I was to oversee the water sewer business portion of the system, which was under a failed meter implementation at the time and was circling the drain. And that was really, the deferred maintenance is really what has caused Jackson to have their catastrophic failure. Anyway, after a few years of that and not being able to have the resources, obviously I moved on and went to work with Sustainability Partners because the business model that they have is completely geared towards cities like Jackson. That was, heading to failure, and this was a disruption. And I think I left in April, and in August of 2022, the crisis hit. And the federal government came in, took it away from the city, put it under a federal receivership, and he had asked me to come back in and help. So that's where I am right now, working with Sustainability Partners, but also I'm consulting as the Chief Revenue Officer for the City of Jackson water system. So that's about me. But a little bit about Sustainability Partners. We were founded in 2016. Our headquarters are in Chandler, Arizona. We have hundreds of millions of dollars of essential infrastructure under development. I think we've just finished our 55th project, and so now we have 55 projects under maintenance. And what we do is we install infrastructure and then we maintain it, and you'll learn a little bit more about that in a minute. We do all kinds of infrastructure types, and we have many vendors across the country that help support these projects, like manufacturers or maintenance companies. This gives you an idea of some of the assets that we do: sports fields, water, electric vehicle infrastructure, lighting projects, just pretty much anything that is critical to a university, a municipality, a state. We do that type of stuff. Here's some of the essential projects we've done. We do clear water systems, wastewater, energy, microgrids, the EVs. Believe it or not, athletic fields down in the south are considered essential infrastructure because it's a big revenue generator for some of the smaller cities. So we do that well. This gives you just like a little screenshot how you are of some of the vendors that we use. Like we use Tesla for our EV infrastructure. The state of Hawaii has flipped all of their fleets over to EVs, and we've installed Teslas in all the microcharging and the systems for that. So that gives you an idea of those. This is just a little shot of our reach. Right now we have IP members partners like Eric and Bert, and they're all stationed around the country, but we actually do reach to all 50 states. This is just where we're located. So this is to talk about water systems. Y'all are dealing with kind of a hybrid situation, I understand. You have a distribution system, but you're also wanting a new plant possibly. So this may or may not apply, but typically water systems are not maintained. And they don't maintain the infrastructure underneath. They don't maintain the pumps and all the parts that keep the plants rolling. A different administration will come in, and a new mayor will have a different priority, and that may not be his priority, and so they will kick that maintenance down the road. We see it all the time. It ends up being the burden on ratepayers because they have to be the ones that pay for all this. So that's kind of like how our model works, as we come in and we reduce the cost of infrastructure, basically. So this is a traditional method, and I think one of my other partners, Jason, had put this together. So an asset could be a 20 years. So like a pump or pump station, even a water meter could have potentially a 20-year lifespan on it. And when you go and you make your initial investment, you don't always plan for the maintenance that is needed to keep it functioning. Nobody does, because many administrations change in the life of 20 years. So unplanned outgoing expenditures usually end up getting looked over, or they don't do them, and then you end up like Jackson, Mississippi. And the quality of the infrastructure line, the bottom blue line, is showing you how the quality of your infrastructure goes down, but the cost to replace it, repair it, and maintain it in the future after you've put Band-Aids on it is continuing to go up. And then with this model, when you do a project with SP, we plan all of the capital injections that need to be in the life cycle of this asset. So the city doesn't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about sourcing anything in the future, because the cost of infrastructure stays the same, but the quality increases and the community's benefit increases. And I could just give, this is a silly little graph to me because it's all real life stuff that I can deal with or I can associate with. So like the pump failures in Jackson had so much terrible infrastructure in their actual distribution system. They were losing, I think at the time, well, the city actually never knew because they didn't have meters in the ground that knew how to measure water. So they had no idea what their water loss. When the receiver came in, we were pumping 55 million gallons a day. We were using 18. So we were losing 35 million gallons of water every day in our distribution system. So your cost of chemicals, your cost of power, your cost of everything is like 4 times what it should be. And so the first thing that we started working on is we opened the valves. We found out that was part of it. But the tanks weren't filling, and then the pumps were pumping like 24/7, and those pumps shouldn't be pumping 24/7. And so my thought is, if you just maintain things the way they're supposed to be, the life that you'll get out of that asset is tremendous. And the benefit for the city, because your ratepayers aren't constantly fixing things. Okay, so let's talk about how we do this. So sustainability partners can help you develop a project with zero upfront cost. We can work with your current consultants if you have some. We can bring on some talent that we've worked with in the past. If you have grant money or federal funding or any local funds that you want to kind of mix in with it, we're good with that. We're just the capital, and I guess over the years we've developed some expertise because we keep doing the same projects over and over again. So, and what it is it's a utility payment. It's a 30-day monthly agreement. We own the assets, you operate the assets, and then you pay month to month. If you want to cancel the contract, it's just a 30-day notice, and we can have like a third-party appraisers come out and take a look and give us like an idea of what that cost would be to transfer it back to the authority. So you're not locked in. It's on or off your sheets, your budget, so it's up to you how you want to do it. It doesn't impact your credit rating because it is considered a utility payment. You do not pay us until it's already been installed and working. And, you know, unlike a lease or something else, if a black swan or something happens and you have troubles making a payment, we're not going to come pull the plant from you. Because we're really looking for a 100-year relationship with all of our clients. Matter of fact, I don't know if you've heard about Jackson, but the federal receiver has run out of some of his operating cash, and he went to SP and he's like, can I go a couple of months without making that payment? And that was not a problem at all. So, I mean, we do intend to be a good partner with all of our clients, no matter what the asset type is. And here it is. So like I said, we combine grants and incentives. We work to figure out the best solution for you in the community, you know, payments, repair, place, non-functioning assets. I hadn't said that. So is in this project and in this relationship, if something fails and it's not because of mistreatment or whatever, if it fails, we will replace it. Even if it fails, you know, no matter what, we will always keep the assets maintained, functioning. We have very strong relationships with all of our vendors. Matter of fact, it's so strong that we feel pretty confident if we had some sort of failure of some sort, we could get to the head of the line if deliveries needed or so and so. So that's some of them. Okay. So we work with utilities to identify your projects. We work together developing solutions. Look, I'm looking because my eyes, that's the lighting. That's a little. We will fund the projects. We monitor them. Most projects have some sort of internal asset type software that's that we monitor to make sure everything's working. You receive an invoice monthly and you pay us monthly, and we maintain it. So that's kind of really takes a lot of the burden. I don't want to say all the risk, but it takes a lot of the burden off of our customers. And I wish you could talk to Mr. Hennepin because he loves his meters now. All right, so again, just to recap, 10-page month-to-month service agreement, no capitals required. You won't begin to pay us until actually we get it, whatever asset type that is. You start operating it after the construction or installation, and then you start paying. 30 days termination, no penalties. Maintenance and replacement reserves are already built into the price. So we could also like lower maybe the front end of the price and put an escalator on it so that as your community builds or your capacity builds, you know, that would go that way. We're very flexible. So we can do whatever is best for the utility. People contract with us directly. They use a purchasing cooperation agreement and RFPs. We can help with any of those if you need help with other parts of the project, but it's real easy to do our services. This is a list of current clients: Jacksonville University. I see Hawaii's on there, Jackson, Mississippi. My favorite, Angel Fire. All right, and again, zero upfront capital. It's based on your usage. And I didn't touch on that, and I probably should. So the usage-based billing, like as a utility, is different for different assets. So like the EVs, they base it on mileage, obviously. Water meters, we usually base it on the meter type monthly. A plant in totality could be based on like a meter read of how much water's made. That flexibility is for the utility and SP to come up. So it's based on a usage base. And if we have to, we could put a cap on it and say, it'll never go over this amount. Does that make sense? And y'all stop me if you have any questions. I meant to say that at the very beginning, and I didn't.
We were trying to let you finish the presentation and
Okay,
then
okay.
open the floor.
I think I'm finished. I really do. I think I've said pretty much everything. Yep, there we go. There's my name. Thank you. So, yeah, we would love, because I don't do presentations. I do dialogue. I like to talk. I like to go back. I like to get some feedback and see. Do y'all have any questions? Because my partners can help me as well answer some of these.
Board members, the floor is now open for questions. Will there be any questions? Member Jones, and you have your hand up? I do. Okay, all right. Member Jones?
Yes,
and then-
thank you for the presentation.
You're welcome.
My quick question is, based on where we are now with the need for a water treatment facility, we would also need to have the water lines in place at the same time too. So that would all be part of the total package.
Correct.
And then we would then have to start servicing a community, whether it's all the 3 cities or 1 city or whatever, before we could even pay the monthly bill. So in that case, we would have to have not only a treatment plant, but we'd have to have the
Lines to tap
lines in
on.
place too, in a package.
Sure.
That's something, I just want to make sure.
Sure, and you
saying-
know, like a pipe underground, the expected lifespan is like 70 to 100 years. I mean, with different materials. So obviously, we wouldn't draw that utility cost out for 70 years, but you know, the way we put them together is the different assets have different lifespans, and we'll say like in a project like that, two or three iterations of a water meter project maybe to fill up the same space. We're very flexible. I mean, the capital team will help put all that stuff together, but we want to put a solution in place that provides exactly what the community needs. We're not going to go put in a plant without pipes to distribute it. Like me personally, my first thing, I would do some sort of asset management on each of the communities and get some GIS mapping and find out where your distribution system is. I was just mentioning valves. Low pressure does have a lot to do with capacity. But in Jackson, we found that there were underground valves that were turned. And so the water, you know, it all has a plan, and it was just going in every different direction, and it was not flowing the way it was built to flow. So, I mean, there's a lot of planning that would go into this, just making sure that we're adding value to your current situation and not adding, you know, additional costs without that.
Mayor Thomas Smith is next.
Thank you. This is very exciting.
Okay.
It's hope. So I just want to say that first. I think I want some clarity around, there's a little bit of a situation where I'm not sure exactly how we frame what the authority owns and what each city owns, because Palmetto has a water treatment facility that we have in the city. So does that get rolled into this, and does it get upgraded? Do we leave it like it is and we continue to maintain it? Because there's some other things that are a part of it as well.
Sure. You know, that would be something that your consulting, your engineering consulting team could do, but you could decommission it if you don't need it and turn it into a pump station, and that would reduce the cost to the overall ratepayer for the city. That's what we're doing in Jackson. We're decommissioning one of our older plants because now she's not having to work to death. Both of them were, I mean, it was nuts. So things have gotten so much better. Tanks are filling, and so we're making that plan. And that's gonna overall lower our operating costs. When you take a whole plant offline, that's a big cost savings. So I don't know the situation. I would love to look into it, and I could, you know, talk to somebody about kind of digging a little deeper.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Slate.
Yeah, he had a question first.
Okay.
If I can keep them on top of my head, I'll ask. rate-wise, do you have any idea where who sets the rates once, like if we're getting water, the water starts flowing and it starts coming in, the water authority was going to set the rates for each city. Is that still the same thing?
Oh, yeah, we don't operate. We don't make any political decisions, any operational decisions. No, we don't do that. We own the assets and maintain them, and the authority would make all those policy changes and rate setting. I mean, you're gonna have to set your rates high enough to run it, which might be a little different from not currently doing that, but, I mean, I understand that getting off of Atlanta's water is possibly so that you can increase capacity, increase some flow to some of the further outlying areas. But as far as, like, we don't do any of that. We don't tell you how to run it.
Well, and that's why, that was one of my questions, because Palmetto doesn't use Atlanta water except for a couple of warehouses. So my ultimate concern looks at what we're charging, and I know what Atlanta charges, and try to see the difference. And
Coweta. And Coweta.
And Coweta. But this has been done in Jackson. You're using SP in Jackson right now, right?
We are using SP in Jackson. So Jackson, Mississippi, back in 2024, installed $69 million worth of meters, and they didn't work. Took a bond out. Collectors went down, couldn't get anything to work. And we ended up having to replace all of our water meters. Our customers were getting crazy bills. Some of them weren't getting bills. I mean, it was a disaster. And that was really our only option. Like, we are the only option for no capital up front for projects of this size. And so SB came in and they helped us install the meters. First, we did all the collectors. And it's been, amazing difference. Jackson knows how much water they're selling. They know we can tell our customers. Honestly, any water system, I believe, needs to have the best water meters on those endpoints, only because the data that you receive, is what you use to make these other decisions. Like, I don't know if I would put in a plant if I didn't know how much my water loss was.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So there's a couple of things that you could do, smaller projects under the same, the whole same model, no capital up front. We could put water meters in. They're going to have alarms for your constituents. So if there's a leak on their property, that you will know it before they do. And they also listen in the water column. So we have used these water meters to find tons of leaks in Jackson. And currently, they're all subsurface now. Like, there's no water coming to the surface. So we're having to use the technology from the meters to find them. And it was just a month or so ago that one of the guys called me and he goes, there's something really loud going on. And I drove into this little neighborhood and I looked, and it was a stormwater creek, basically. Water's flowing in the creek, so you can't see it. But I noticed it's not flowing very much on this side of the creek, and it's really gushing on this one. We had a main break, and it was filling the creek. So there was no way we would have found that without the water, those meters, giving us that data. So, I mean, if you're starting from scratch, which kind of sounds like this plant would be, I would get the most data that you could to make those other decisions. That would be so helpful for you.
So, and it may be where Andrea and Laura come in, because I'm curious as to how what we have works with y'all's capital, or is it just y'all's capital that we use, and what do we do with ours, or our money? Does that make sense?
No, I mean
How do they merge, I guess?
We'd have to take a look at what it is. Like for the capital projects, like you want to use some bond money that you already have and our.
My ultimate goal is to try to figure out, and I don't think we can, but the monthly payments that each city would be responsible for. Mm-hmm. So if we're responsible for, let's say, $20,000 a month for Palmetto, the authority, we're already paying our portion for whatever that is. Mm-hmm. So does that continue? will both continue? Or,
Yeah, you would have two different,
You
I
will
guess,
have
two
What we're
different
paying
projects.
is primarily towards the debt service.
Right.
right,
So you still have the obligation for the debt service. And I have
But
a
we can
question after
do,
you.
we do have a way
gonna-
of kind of helping with that we could go in and pay that debt off if it would be advantageous to y'all. And then we could wrap that payment into the cost of the project and you would only have one. That's something we could talk about.
Okay. Mayor Avery.
Well, I wanted to go back to the decommissioning. Could you tell me, you was just saying you're doing that in Jackson?
We will be doing
Could
it.
you walk me through that process of what that looks like? I hear you saying it, I mean, but it clearly has to be a whole lot more in depth than what it sounds like.
Well, I mean, first of all, we're having to make sure that the big plant is stable and do all the upgrades and repairs before we can take anything else offline. It's really just turning a valve and turning the lights out.
So, okay,
Because these water systems are all connected. You know, ours are, I know y'all's are, because water flows. So it's really just turning a valve, turning the lights out. But some may choose to keep it kind of live for redundancy, like if you have an issue.
This is what we use it for
well,
now.
which,
Okay.
okay, and that's what, I mean,
Yeah.
we don't have this in there, so that's why I'm trying to make sure I understand it. So I was saying that existing infrastructure, the decommissioning.
there.
It just sits in,
It does, and we're gonna turn ours
Right,
into a
whatever.
pump station instead of a water treatment plant.
Or actually a museum, it's over 100 years old.
Yes, yours is?
Fascinating, yes. It's very
Beautiful. I mean, put your office in there. Put the water authority's office in there.
Okay, Mayor Avery, did you have
Yes,
anything
ma'am.
else? Okay, so, to Member Slayton's point and also Member Jones, I think the thought too is, I know you say that the cities will be invoiced, right? And so the way that I look at it is, you know, you're invoicing based on usage, right? And then we still currently have our debt service payment that we have to pay. And I know you're saying maybe you can roll it into one payment, but at the end of the day, one of the questions that the members have asked is, you know, the thought is like, how would this impact our ratepayers? How high would this bill how high would the rates have to go in order to be able to make those payments? And that's one of the things that I think, it kind of gets to what you were asking, and it's definitely something that's been foremost on the authority's mind, too.
Can
is
I
the
offer
impact to
this?
ratepayers.
There is an association called the Water Finance Network. And they're nationwide. Their principal is in Washington, D.C. He used to be the water guy for the EPA. I can get you in touch with them. They do technical assistance, but they do rate studies, they do consolidation studies, and this is kind of, even though y'all are already a group, this sounds very much like a consolidation study to find out what your CIP plan is going to end up being, what kind of burden it will be on your ratepayers. So I would be glad to get y'all in touch with them and let them kind of talk, and unless you have other, you know, I mean, they're a nonprofit, so they may not cost the association anything for them to do some, you know, studies before diving deeper into that.
And I know you had a question about costs, I think Member Slayton did, but it's the ratepayers, the impact to the ratepayers that's foremost. Have to pay the debt service, we're having to pay for usage, and then on top of that, which is the really game changer amount that's in addition, is what Member Jones mentioned, is the cost of tapping in. That's obviously a huge cost to all of the individual respective cities. So just curious how all of this rolls up, but Member Slayton.
What is y'all's fee overall?
Our fee? Well, we just get 80 basis points. It's not really a fee or a fine. It's based on the size of the project and all kinds of factors. So before saying anything, we'd have to like look and see what exactly is entailed.
But now.
We don't have like a
our
flat
monthly-
fee.
I mean, when we're talking about the rate, I don't want our rates to be like Atlanta. It's ridiculous. We have lots of seniors, and it would just be impossible, right? So that's where I'm, and more concerned with the rate study. But now, we have a rate study for the water authority, so would we stick with that? Sorry, I don't know what that.
That's okay. Yeah, I wish Tom Owens were here. Tom did have a chance to be on, we've had 2 conference calls with SW, and Tom was on one of those calls, because he did a rate analysis, that showed using tax exempt bonds, so no, no basis points, added to those. But our rate, the, record ball project was around $10 per thousand gallons, which is, I guess it's about double, what it is now. And so Tom asked me folks, he said, well, what's your secret sauce? How are you gonna make this better for us? Because, we have tax exempt bonds, how is your program going to make our rates lower? And the answer was they have more flexible terms and the ramp-up structure that they would consider as far as lower rates in the early days and then actually give those customers, their payments for increasing. So, Tom did, dive into that with the knowledge to but yes, that is the question. How does this, how does this, reflect in the rate and does it put you in a better position than you would be? Let me just add one other thing that we had with interviews from SP was
She's special, I guess. One of the things that we talked to SP about is when Carla was talking about was the meters, right? How do you go ahead and capture? So one of the things she referenced in her presentation was talking about doing some of these kind of smaller city-specific as well as something that could apply as well to the authority to kind of figure out what you guys have in the ground and what are you losing? I mean, is there the potential to kind of start, kind of like pinky toe in, right? Where you get the rates or you get the meters going and then you're able to identify, hey, are we having much more of a consumptive loss where we're just kind of flushing money down the drain, pardon the term, right? That you're not selling or, just the different things. Are we losing money? And so that was one of the first things that we talked about is the authority interested in developing a relationship with SP where maybe you do the meters, right? To go, okay, what is our actual use? What are we using? What do we need? Those sorts of things, as opposed to jumping directly in to the $160 million, direct withdrawal, infrastructure, everything of that. Because if you remember, part of your permit requirements for the direct withdrawal is that you will decommission the Palmetto plant. That is a condition on your permit. So there are some things as far as with how the authority works that, have implications to the individual cities as well.
Thank you. I think it was Mayor Thomas Smith next, and then Member Jones.
Thank you. So 2 points. I'm glad you brought up meters because that's one of the things I jotted a note. The city of Palmetto just recently changed meters to automatic read meters 2 years ago, maybe just before I became the mayor.
Yeah, good.
So I'm wondering if there's an opportunity to use that technology. I know technology can be obsolete 24 hours after it's released.
According to who the vendor
Right.
is.
So I'm wondering if that's an opportunity, you could potentially partner with what we currently have without us having to invest maybe more in.
Oh, yeah, if you've got water meters and they're measuring in your consumptive use correctly, we don't need to replace those.
Okay.
This country is kind of in a space where everybody's really moving to AMI. And so with most customers that are having water loss, they need new AMI meters. But if you already have them, yeah, but we could put them in the other parts of the city and still pull data from there. But you could, what meter type do you have? Do you know? You know the brand?
There's 2 things I could want. Tesco, I think, is the electric. Nighthawk, maybe?
Nicore?
Nighthawk.
Nighthawk? I'm not familiar with it.
Strike that from the record because
It's
I'm
okay.
not sure. Take that out. But it's
Not a problem.
something like that, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll just say. But I do know that they're relatively new.
Yeah, well, you might be able to get some good data off of them as well, to see how much because my thing is, if y'all don't know how much you're selling, you might be buying more water than you need, and then, and then moving that cost around, going from the wholesale to your own sustained utility, it may be a wash, I just don't know. But I'll be glad to get you in touch with the water finance group. They would love to do, a little, because they would look at the 3 cities as well and maybe look at, did he look at the cost of projects that we haven't given him?
Please come to the mic.
He hasn't looked at any cost of ours. We haven't talked about any, so he couldn't compare, okay.
Yeah, no,
I'm
no,
sorry,
yeah.
I'm sorry. Sorry, didn't mean to continue.
So second part, somewhere in your presentation, I think closer to the beginning, you mentioned that you all do management. There were like 5 different things, and I tried to capture all of them, but I did see management. What does that management look like, and is it something that would run parallel to the management that's currently in place, or do you all absorb that management? What happens?
I think I was referring to maintenance management.
Okay,
And what we do is when an entity engages in a project with us, you get assigned an infrastructure specialist, which is one person, and that's what they do, is make sure everything is working, and they manage, any kind of maintenance schedules. All these assets have some sort of manufacturer recommended maintenance that, for some reason, Public Works doesn't do. I mean, it blows my mind. I've been in multiple Public Works departments, and they just kind of do what they kind of do. I'm not saying y'all are doing that. I'm just saying. That's just kind of the thing, is like when a manufacturer recommends that an oil be changed in something every 90 days, your employees don't do that. But we do, because it's our assets that we're protecting and making sure they're working. So that's kind of the management part, but we don't operate. So we don't tell y'all what to do. We don't have any say-so in any policy decisions. It's all you operate it.
Okay, thank you. And then I think we had Mayor Williams.
No, go ahead,
Oh,
sir.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Trying to referee here. Jones, and then Mayor Williams asked next, and then we'll have you, Mayor Avery.
Quick question, what is the life cycle on a water treatment facility? Because what I'm thinking is, when you buy a house, you get a 30-year mortgage. And you hope that you pay off a mortgage in 30 years, that you're in that house.
Yeah,
But
you
if
don't
we get a-
refinance it 3 times, and it costs you.
Right. But if we're building a water treatment facility, and we say, okay, we can do a mortgage that's 75 years, but is that longer than the life cycle of the plant? You're gonna replace it 3 or 4 times, the
Well,
parts
you know-
inside of it over that 75 years.
You think of a plan is pieces, parts. It's not one asset. So you look at things like your membranes. You've got a membrane system that could last 10 years. Won't last 70, but it'll last 10. So we build in the cost of replacing that membrane every 10 years into your monthly cost. Does that make sense? So you buy one box to put it in, and the box will last 70 years. And if we have to replace the membrane system 3 times, 4 times, we build that in. So it's hard because, a plant has got, they're just the ages and the assets that are involved in them are vast. Some things don't last that long, so we may account for 20 of them just to make sure you get from A to B and everything's maintained and kept in good working condition.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I hope I answered that right. Okay.
Mayor Williams, and then Mayor Avery.
Yes, I want to thank Carla for the presentation. Great information. I did have the privilege several months ago, back in the late summer, to meet with one of your former colleagues, Rob, who, introduced this to me, and I shared with him that I would love for him to come and speak to, our water authority. And I don't know what happened, but Rob's no longer with you. But anyway, I'm glad that you're here. One of the things that that I have to echo, and Mayor Thomas Smith shared this, and when I met with Rob and heard about this, it sounds like hope, and I don't know what that hope looks like, but this sounds good, but, I would like to get more information. Certainly appreciate you coming. This is something I think we need to dig deeper into, because there is some possible hope in this and moving this forward. But the biggest thing for all of us is what will and how much would it impact financially our individual customers as my colleague, Mr. Slayton, stated, we have seniors, we have people who are on the fringes of lower income opportunities. So we want to make sure that we're giving them a reasonable rate, but we do not want to dive into something that's going to really run us away from being able to provide this service to our communities. But I just wanted to let you know, I'm hearing you. It sounds good, very familiar with Jackson's situation. I think most of us are. The former mayor is a very good friend of mine, so I'm very attuned to what happened there, but none of us are in that situation.
Thank God.
Thank God for that, you know, and I would imagine all of our cities have moved forward with change out of meters. I know we had to because of the scenario you just stated.
Oh, really?
You have maintenance agreements and you follow those. We had someone who was in charge who didn't follow them, and it cost us. You know, so thank you again for the presentation and looking forward to hearing more. And I want to thank Mr. Holmes as well for sharing this with all of us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
And I believe we have Mayor Avery.
Yes, ma'am, I have two questions. I was gonna ask Laura, indicated that our agreement in this case required that we decommission, if I understood you correctly?
Right,
Right.
that's correct.
My question, and I'm sorry, I can't see you. Yeah, if you indicated that it would require a decommissioning, my real question was gonna be, what does that do? I can't speak for Pam Matter. I'm just, since you brought it up, and I just asked the question about the decommissioning, I was trying to understand what the impact is. So I guess my question would be, what does that impact do to, you just mentioned you're decommissioning, but it's still operating. So I guess my real question is gonna be, and I mean, you may not have the technical people here to answer this. What's the impact of that?
Well, EPD's requirement for it was because when they permit things, it's supposed to be based on what you
Correct.
need, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And so the idea is, if you need this much water, we were essentially looking at that resource that Palmetto has.
Okay.
Was being deemed or was represented as not gonna be viable anymore.
Okay.
Essentially, that reservoir was being more difficult, wasn't having the production that it was originally thought to have.
Okay,
So at that time, that's what was presented by the engineers, that's what was incorporated in the permit. So the idea is, you don't want to double dip, right? So if
Yes, ma'am.
this is not an invalid resource anymore, the water needs for Palmetto would have been supplied by the direct withdrawal.
gotcha.
So the idea was that then they wouldn't be utilizing that small reservoir any longer.
Okay. Then my second question, you indicated that, as I was flipping through, and I apologize for being late, you was indicating that we'll fix things, that I guess we've got partners and people in place that can repair things. Here's my concern. When we talked about maintenance, and you actually just made something known to me. It's kind of wild because literally, I spent half my day today at Mr. Jones dealing with water treatment contracts today, which is a nightmare to me personally. And so, as I'm sitting there, as I'm going through and reading through them today, my question is going to be, when you talked about the issue with maintenance, I guess my question would be, just like when you buy a car, if there's negligence to fulfill a particular portion of it, the warranty is voided. I guess my concern is there a scenario where the lack of maintenance on our part, or I'm trying to figure out the impact of a lack of maintenance. It's probably going to be found. I'm not going to say which city. I don't know what's going on in other cities, but there's probably going to be some negligence in maintenance in some form or fashion. My question is going to be, how do you plan to deal with that?
Well, I mean, most of water maintenance is done through their operational agreements.
Yes, ma'am.
Like, those people that operate do that type of maintenance.
Right.
We don't do that type of maintenance. We do scheduled maintenance that is like required by the manufacturer. And if something fails, then we replace it. We figure it out. Period.
Okay.
I mean, we did it with the water meters. And you're talking about your, like, Chokwe, is that who you're talking about? Okay. He's the one that started this contract. He signed this contract. And he was adamant on getting those new meters in the ground. And it's been the best thing that has helped this water system, because they had no idea how much money they were losing. They had no much idea how much water they were losing. So anyway, it was his decision.
Okay, you answered my question. Thank you.
Thank you. Here.
That's one more.
One last question, because I know you have to get to the airport.
No, I'm good.
We got a jet over here, it's all right.
Somebody, hey, where's the Porsche? Isn't there a Porsche? We're getting in. It's outside.
She's just gonna drive home. She ain't gonna worry about airport.
That's right. I'm like, cancel my flight.
Can I ask a potentially rude question?
Sure.
And
I might give you a potentially rude answer.
I'm game, I'm
At
fun.
least you're honest.
In research for sustainability partners, there comes up, I think in Illinois and somewhere else, there's legality issues surrounding debts for the states. And is that state-specific stuff, or is it actual city infrastructure?
Legality, and I'm not sure.
Lawsuits.
I'm not familiar with them. I'll be totally honest. I'm really not.
Okay.
But that may be because it's corporate doing their thing. You know, I mean, if I think there was, you say Illinois.
It's mainly Louisiana.
Oh, okay.
It was both, but mainly Louisiana with something around the state tax debt or something wasn't done right. And I'm just curious if it falls on the cities or if it falls on SP or how that works, because it seemed kind of important. So
I don't know anything about the tax debt on that. But you know, every state has their own procurement rules. Every city follows either the state's led or they have their own. Litigation is possible in business, you know, it always is.
We know.
Yeah. I mean, you really can't avoid that. I mean, if you can, but you could share with us on how to avoid that. But, you know, I mean, I don't know anything specific. If you have something specific and you want to email us, we will research it and get an answer to you for sure.
I was just curious if it was between SP and the state or if it was between a city and SP. And it seems more like on the state side. So,
Well, you know, I'll just say this. You said a rude question. We are disruptive. I mean, we are a disruptive company. We have come in and we have pried fingers of bond attorneys off of cash. And guess what? In Mississippi, we say hit dogs holler. And that's what's happening here. They want us to go away because they don't like not getting the fees that they're getting. I mean, imagine when Uber first came in. Netflix. Everything that's disruptive is going to have a zillion lawsuits filed because, I mean, how else are you going to stop them? So, but anything specific, we'll be glad to research it and get it back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think that concludes our
You're welcome.
questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Wish you
you.
safe travels back. Thank
It was
you so
nice meeting
much.
you all.
Yes, thank
Nice
you.
meeting you as well.
Sitting down again.
Okay, next we have our, sorry? Come on, Ms.
I want to
Long.
just say something real quickly. What we'll do is we'll follow up with the team here and certainly get back with you all, and we can hopefully have some additional conversations going forward.
Sounds good. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Merry
Good night.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah,
Yes.
same to you all, too.
Yes.
Go Dogs.
Go dog.
So I'm in act-
Go dog.
Roll Tide.
Oh,
Okay,
don't speak that kind of blasphemy around.
Turn that off.
so next we'll go ahead and ask Mr. Davenport if he wouldn't mind coming forward regarding the contributions report.
Can we switch seats?
No, behave.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I basically, after last meeting, wanted to try and assemble some information to demonstrate what issues the cities have with respect to timing of payments, allocation of payments, et cetera, so we can get a better handle on where we are, know what our position is today, and move forward with the ability to have more control over these monthly issues that come up. What I did was I put together a couple of page narrative. I've entitled it Contributions Analysis, dated December 2nd, 2025. And I tried to describe for everyone's benefit really what was set up, why it was set up, and how it was set up in just a two-page summary. At the end of the day, we know we don't produce water, but we also know we have debt to pay. And it seemed to the three cities that the fair way of doing this was to allocate the debt service based upon the percentage of water usage by each city. And so when you bring all of that aggregate together, each component to the aggregate, and you put a percentage over Union City and Fairburn and Palmetto, you say, all right, this is 100% of our debt service. Our target number every year is approximately $3 million. That's our target number. So what we need to do is that we need to collect $255,000 a month. In order to collect $255,000 a month, that's the 100% pie. Let's get our percentages, and our percentages are going to relate to that $255 a month. So we also understand that over time, development is going to change between cities. One city will grow more quickly than others. It may be a second city has its cycle of quick growth. The point is, over time, percentages are going to change. And you realize that up front. So you thought it would be prudent to every 6 months look at the percentages again, just to confirm that do we stay the same or do we manage it a little differently, because Union City has more development, its percentage is going up, that's going to set for the next 6 months. We looked at that as a fair way of allocation of debt service, and it's worked well since the debt service began. I will give you a caveat. I basically dove into this since the last meeting, and I had very, very little knowledge about how all of this worked, because it happens on automatic pilot, so to speak. I've learned a lot since the last meeting, and one of the things that I tried to do was to show for each city what your picture looks like on a monthly basis. Wanted a reasonable starting point, and I thought the reasonable starting point would have been the last approved audit, which was as of December the 31st, 2024. And if you look at that audit, which is an exhibit in the packet before you, I believe it's on page 10 of the audit, there is a section that shows on one of the notes, and the numbers are highlighted, what each city owes the authority. It shows as a receivable to the authority from the city. And those three numbers gave me the starting point, because the audit said this was the number, the cities approved the audit, that's frozen in time. So beginning with that, I took the information that's put together every 6 months by Jim Castle with Post and Associates. What Jim Castle does is he receives the water usage numbers from each of the three cities. He does the percentages based upon what the usage is, and he puts forth to each of the three cities what the percentage is, what that percentage is dollar-wise of $255,000, and this is what the city owes for the next 6 months. So there's a chart in there. It looks something like this. I can't really tell you where it is, but it's in the packet somewhere. If not, I'll be happy to show this to you. But it shows you on a 6-month cycle, and it's color-coded if you've got a color copy. It shows the percentages on the left side, and it shows the dollar amounts on the right side. And if you, as you go through and look, you can tell historically what your city has been paying on every 6-month cycle since April the 30th, 2023. So with that information, that enabled me to put on this spreadsheet that I developed a number, which would be the number that each city is obligated to pay for a specific month beginning in January of 2024. Below that number would be the corresponding deposit made by the city, and we had the bank records from the bank to show the deposits that came in. And I just did a running total from January 2024 through October of 2025. And that running total produced three numbers for the three cities. And I will say, the numbers I'm reading off, they're not 100% accurate, and I'll tell you why. On page 2 of the analysis, it concludes with three numbers. Union City, a shortfall of $30,193. Fairburn, a surplus of $223,324. And Palmetto, a shortfall of $303,675.05. Let me start with Palmetto. That number is incorrect, and the reason it's incorrect is, as I was looking through the numbers, I overlooked a deposit that Palmetto made in September of 2024. And that was a deposit of approximately $57,000. Once I factored, and Sylvia Reddick brought that to my attention, and I appreciate her doing that. When she did, she wound up showing me what she believed Palmetto's obligation was, and I looked over that and saw a $17,000 error there. But we've got a number that I believe, I have not heard back from Palmetto, but I believe is the correct number, and I'll know sooner or later. But the number is $249,894. So that's the Palmetto number, and I want to also address the Fairburn number. The Fairburn number is a surplus of $223,000. What I found out was, as these numbers were being communicated to the cities on a 6-month basis, there's a lot of personnel turnover. And I'm not just talking about Fairburn, I'm talking about all three cities. There was a period of time where the number that was going to Fairburn was going to the person that wasn't writing the check. And so the person writing the check never got the new number, and they kept paying based upon the old percentage. And Fairburn's numbers kept going down in comparison to Union City and Palmetto, and over time, it mushroomed to over $200,000. That's no longer occurring. The Fairburn is paying the amount that's invoiced. And let me talk about this word invoice. It's really a fallacy, where nobody's invoiced anything. There's never been any formal process set up. And I would propose this evening for the cities to think about a couple of things. Because in looking at all of this, what really was brought to my attention is, first of all, you're not sending in information to anybody on a monthly basis. You're sending in 6 months of information to one person at one time. So that person picks up 18 months of information, 18 months of data that he's got to go through, answer whatever questions. That's when he gets it. Answer the questions he can answer and produce these numbers. If there are any issues with those numbers, they're now already 6 months old. So there's not a whole lot we can do about it. I would propose that we really reevaluate how we do that. I think it would be a more prudent way for each city every month to provide information every month and do it on the same day every month. Because if that information goes out on a monthly basis, we're not waiting for numbers for him to accumulate 18 months worth of data. He's just got to pick up the last 3 months, and then he'll turn that right back around. Plus, the good thing about it is, as the numbers are being brought forth, if Union City is bringing in numbers, say, of, let's call it 40 million gallons on a month, and then the next month it's 38 million gallons, and then the next month it's 94 million gallons. We know we might have a problem, and let's stop and figure out what the problem is. Right now, that has happened, but it's a year ago, and nobody realizes it. How are you going to fix it a year ago? You're not going to be able to do that. So if you do it on a monthly basis, I believe it minimizes these issues that could occur. not only do it on a monthly basis, but do it with consistent information. And let me tell you what I mean by that. When I was looking at some of this information, I didn't know what I was looking at. And I finally just asked, and I'm going to kind of put a spotlight on Tarsha because she was very helpful with me. I said, Tarsha, don't you buy all of your water from Atlanta? Yes, we do. Do you get a bill from Atlanta? Yes, we do. Is that the number that you use to report for water usage? No. Why not? And I got a lot of reasons. And once I went through all those reasons, I came back to the original question. Why not? Because it doesn't matter where the water goes once you buy it, because you're having to buy that volume because you're in control of where it goes. Mm-hmm. It may get lost. It may go out leaks. It may go to city buildings that don't get a bill. None of that matters. What matters is, how much did you buy? Well, I bought 42 million gallons. Well, you need to give me a copy of that invoice on a monthly basis and send it to Post & Associates and use that as a basis to corroborate your number for that month.
The Atlanta invoice.
Correct, because that's where Union City gets its water. Fairburn the same way. Fairburn's in a different kind of a situation because Fairburn, while you're buying your water from Atlanta, and I believe you're buying it exclusively from Atlanta at this point, but you won't be in the near future. But when you buy it from Fayette County, you're still going to get a bill. So I'm proposing that whatever bill that you get from whatever third party, just submit a copy of that bill on a monthly basis as your water usage report, because it's not the usage that's the issue, it's what you're purchasing. Because you're not purchasing more than you use, and I'm not trying to define what use means. Use means you have control of it, and it goes wherever you allow it to go. You're responsible for that. Palmetto's a bit different. You've got a third-party billing, which is good, but you have a water treatment plant. But I would think that the person or persons operating the water treatment plant have the ability to tell you how much flows from that treatment plant on a monthly basis. Now, using the same analogy, what flows is what you used. It doesn't matter where it went, it flowed. So if you have X coming from that meter from your water treatment plant, you have Y coming out of Coweta County, a copy of those reports monthly go to Post & Associates. I can't think of a more potentially accurate way in which these numbers can be calculated because we're using the gross volume. We're not worrying about what happens to the water after you purchase it. We're using the gross volume. Did you want to say something, ma'am?
I have a question. This is good. I really appreciate this because I think this will help kind of, gel some things. So can we first get this, if we agree to this, can we get it processed and get out to the city managers and administrators so that they can kind of start putting these things in place now? So that we can start getting people prepared that they will need to do this, whether it's accounts payable and receivable, whether it's the water department for us, all of those things. We probably need to give them some clear direction on what this looks like. And then will that start to generate a monthly bill that will actually be mailed to someone who can pay it? Because I think that probably, with our staff turnover, and it has been so much, that the person with the institutional knowledge about all of this probably is no longer there, so nobody even knew to look for it. So I'm just wondering, could a monthly bill be generated so that we can make sure that we're maintaining properly on our end as well?
Let me suggest to you that what I'm saying this evening, and I've gone through a good bit of it, I've still got a little bit to go. My goal of bringing that to you in the way that I'm doing it now is to gauge your reaction. And that kind of reaction is what I'm looking for.
I think it's great.
Because if all of the cities want to do it this way, and I represent all of the city representatives as authority members, I would take direction from you and I would put together that template to do exactly what you just said and communicate that to all the cities. I'm just putting the pieces on the board and asking you, do you like the pieces? Because if you do, I can start the game up and get it all working that way.
I think it's a great start.
Right? So,
The only suggestion is to also copy, send it to the administrators, but copy the mayors too, just to deal with this whole issue.
and just so you understand where I'm going with this, this is not going to be some automatic pilot thing that's off on the side that nobody knows about.
Correct.
I'm going to make it wide open, not me. This board is going to make it wide open because those monthly statements are going to come in through not just the posting associates, but I want to be copied on those.
Yes.
No, you want to have somebody each from your city to be copied on those so everybody has the same information. You don't want Palmetto just having Palmetto's information. Palmetto, you want a set of all information. So when that bill goes out that you're sending to posting associates, there are going to be at least 3 or 4 people copied on that bill that gets the same information. So you have the ability to be as proactive as you want to be as far as this is concerned. Now, as far as the actual billing, believe me, once you get into this routine of submitting on a monthly basis, you're going to have somebody in your city, and they may leave tomorrow, but believe me, there's so many people that are involved in this, we're going to know that somebody left Palmetto and didn't provide us the information because you have a deadline to provide it by, and you have people looking at it. Right now, you don't have that. And I don't have any problem being the one to say, wait a minute, I didn't get anything from Palmetto. I'm going to reach out and find out why not. Right. I don't know that you're going to get posting associates to generate a bill. You may get your financial person that you select to be added to that responsibility. But even if you don't get that, even if you just get the reallocation, believe me, when I don't receive something from Union City for the month of November by December the 15th, I'm on the phone with Tarsha. Why didn't I receive this? Oh, I forgot to do it. Let's do it. How much, by the way, how much do I owe? We've got, this information is going to be at our fingertips. It's not going to be, I've got to spend 2 weeks looking for it. It's going to be at our fingertips. Right now, I am so intimately familiar with the last 2 years of each 3 cities because of the hours I put into this. It's easy to go to it and say, here's the problem. That's how your representative is going to be that works this because they're going to be doing it on a monthly basis, not something twice a year, a monthly basis. And I don't have any problem incorporating that into the agenda. And on the agenda, have a report. Last month, this was the usage from the 3 cities. This was the payment that went out by the 3 cities. It stays on the top of everybody's minds that way. This is a fundamental part of who you are. We need to make sure we give it the dignity it deserves because everybody wants to do the right thing. We need to make sure that everybody understands what the right thing is. And I think this is going to do that.
So is this a way of saying that Palmetto's not a bad partner, really? We just didn't know what we didn't know what we didn't know?
It's about transparency.
Yeah, is this something that could be the role of a general manager if we actually hire somebody who really, have we ever considered, I know Lindy Farmer was here, but actually not as a contractor, actually hiring somebody whose sole purpose it is to manage the water authority, to really hire a person, not a contractor?
We've never done that before, with the exception of Lindy, because there was nothing to manage. I mean, we don't have a product, we don't have employees, all we have is bills we have to pay. And it's not a substantial amount of bills. It's a kind of a small number. We just make small numbers as far as number of bills, not a small number as amount. Amount's pretty big. So you'll find that out tonight on my next report. But with respect to this, it's the kind of thing that's going to be I don't want to say self-managed, but once that routine is set up, and once the people are known from this 3 cities, once there's at least 2 or 3 folks riding herd over this, believe me, I don't think we'll get to a point where people are going to forget to pay this or not know what their amount is, because there are going to be so many people that know that information that all you have to do is pick up the phone and call or email something and ask a question. But in answer to your question, we will need to have a general manager when we get to a point of having some construction, having a product, having employees. That's when you're going to need your general manager. We thought we were there the last time, but we weren't quite there.
Any additional questions? So is there do we need to do this formally, Dennis?
What I would like to
Motion.
say is, I'm judging from my comments that I'm able to reach out to the cities to provide them a plan. Why don't we bring that plan to your January meeting and formalize that plan based upon the comments I've provided this evening and the questions that you've raised? That way, come January, we know this is what we want to do, as opposed to me just standing here at the podium and telling you this is a good idea. Does that work?
That's fair.
That way you can vote on it in January and we can start from that point.
Okay.
We have one question.
Mayor.
Will the payment due be calculated each month or still take a 6-month average?
Unless something changes, it'll stay with the 6 months. Because reallocating it every month is going to be probably a little too tedious, I think. You're going to have a trend, but I don't think your trend is going to be on a month-to-month basis. If you do have a significant drop or a significant increase, that's not a trend, that's a problem. Let's figure out why that problem exists.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Owens is not here, so we don't have anything for him, correct?
He was not aware it was on the agenda.
Okay.
Can I use that next time?
We have, next item is the accountant firms. And we had, I think the last meeting, the board voted or approved to move to at least explore the direction with the suggestion that we have for Fairburn. And I think Member Slayton was going to connect with Attorney Davenport.
Well, I reached out to the 3 people we had, haven't heard back from one, and I am not finished with the other 2.
Okay, so still in progress, okay. All right, next we have the report again, the financial report from Mr. Davenport.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You have before you this evening requisition number 284 in the amount of $8,264.71 for your consideration.
Okay.
Move to
Jones has a
approve.
question. Okay, there's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Properly second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicates by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, requisition as presented stands as approved.
And Madam Chair, earlier when I spoke about this contributions analysis, I mentioned our target was $3 million a year. The reason it's $3 million a year is this is the month you have your principal and your debt service, and you'll see that's under requisition number 285, and it's the amount of $2,447,487.50. Now, couple that with your June payment, which is just interest only, it's approximately $450,000. So adding those 2 together, that puts you under $3 million. You have a little bit of grace, but not a lot. And based upon your reports that you have, you see you've got money in the bank, so you're able to work through what's going on here. There's nothing that's really urgent at the moment, but we need to make sure we get this other piece working properly so we keep that money in the bank and we keep things flowing. So before you this evening is requisition number 285 in the amount of $2,447,487.50.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, Motion second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
The
That's all I have.
requisition stands as approved. Thank you so much. Next, we'll have our project manager's report.
Ma'am?
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Can she get one as well in the back?
I've been told.
All right, building a little bit about what we talked last month, where we were talking, we had originally expected the Georgia Tech folks to come, they were unable to do it. Andrea and I wanted to reach out and kind of get just a general oversight of what they do, as well as to be prepared, given that the term does start in January, to make sure that we could, you know, if this body did choose to engage them in a formal capacity, that we were best prepared on the scope, the project, and everything else of what this body would want to do if she should choose to do so.
Mayor Smith put us in contact with her contact, Valerie McConnick at Georgia Tech. She is the head of what's called the Center for Academic Success and Engagement. CASE is the acronym for the program. And it boils down to really an internship program that pairs undergraduate students, groups of undergraduate students, with governments, with for-profit, nonprofit companies to work together to solve complex challenges. Is kind of the terminology that she used. And you engage these groups of students. They usually pair 10 to 12 students together per project. And they work with you on the challenge that you've identified to achieve the goals that you've also identified for them. It's mostly data-driven deliverables, right, because they are 18, 20-year-old, but brilliant 18, 19, 20-year-olds. And so you work with them, and we've got here kind of a summary of what we talked about with her, and then we've got information about the program, and then information about the authorities' roles. Or you want to talk about the authorities' role?
Okay, yeah, one of the things that she really harped on was the success of the project and how you kind of entice students to want to be part of that team or to work on your project is really based also on how much you give as the quote-unquote teacher or leadership person on who will be helping guide the team. So they're looking to make sure that whoever has a project that would be working on with a CASE team would be having somebody that is committing at least 1 hour, if not more, to having a meeting with the team to kind of go through questions, as well as being very responsive to emails and phone calls. So they kind of looked at it when they reach out to certain entities this past semester, and they were not responsive, that was like a lost, the team looked at it as a lost week for them to be able to move forward, because they couldn't get direction and they couldn't get it. One other thing is, you as the project sponsor, I guess we should probably say, would be responsible for helping put them in contact with whatever information they need. So this is not one where you can kind of just say, like how we kind of talked about how when we started our jobs, where they just kind of drop something on your desk and go, figure it out, go have fun. It's not exactly what the program is. There's a little bit of an element to that, but she really kind of focused on, you need to provide direction. They're extremely motivated, they're extremely intuitive, and they're very energetic, but they also, just like Andrea said, they're undergrad students, right? So they're looking at that leadership and to get that guidance as to have that kind of how you move through the project.
Each kid is requested to put in, student. Probably wouldn't appreciate kid, but each student is required to put in about 5 hours per week. So if you have 10 kids working on your project, you're getting 50 hours worth of work per week. It's a 10-week program, so it's a semester long. They do not get paid. They do not get course credit. This is kind of an extracurricular activity, life experience.
Yep.
And so they look for projects that are going to enhance their experience and that are exciting to them and have a meaningful impact. We did give Valerie kind of an overview of your project and who you are and what you do and what the 3 cities are trying to accomplish together. And she said, this is a this is a meaningful project, right? Bringing water supply to 3 cities. in South Fulton County. So there was, it piqued her interest there, but it has become on the authority to help establish a scope of what you would like, groups of students to do. And the way that develops is work back and forth with Valerie and then adopt a formal scope of work at your January meeting. So there would need to be back and forth, between now and then to adopt it, so they could kick off the program on February 1st. So that's kind of the timeline of what was laid out there. Before we jump into, Laura and I kind of brainstormed about some challenges and scopes that we thought would be beneficial. But before we talk about that, any questions on what the program is or your responsibilities or any of those?
One thing is you can have a multi-phase project.
Yeah.
So for instance, if you had you have a project that's so large, there's no way that it's gonna be done in a 10-week period. You go, okay, here's phase 1 of my project, here's phase 2 of my project, and you can kind of group it together, but it still has to have those bite-sized pieces, right? Like what are your goalposts? Like what are the objectives that they're trying to get as they move through that 10 weeks?
Member Jones had a question.
My question is, if we move forward and they have to report to somebody, so they're reporting to you all or they're reporting to the chair of the authority?
So Andrea and I, we made a couple suggestions of, and obviously depending on what you choose your scope to be, it could be different. So the authority could have a project, or it could be, for instance, talking about individual city projects that are helping you get the information that you need, whether it's, population, whether it's maybe an assessment of your water system, what's in the ground, maybe, kind of where do things connect, things of that nature. Is there something that they could do? Because it is Georgia Tech, right? So we're thinking more along those kind of, those lines as to what they could do. And if you decided to do a project within each of your respective cities, like it's one project, right, for each of your 3 cities. So you'd be talking about the same goal, same objective, but there would be 3 project teams. Right? Or maybe the way that it's structured, you would just need one, but it would be for each respective city. Obviously, like Union City's people within their department aren't going to be able to answer questions about Palmetto or Fairburn, right? So then you would have your contact person in Union City, Palmetto, Fairburn. If it's something for an authority basis, obviously we would have to look at what the scope was and who the best person is to allot that time to be able to direct them and help them provide those resources. Obviously, if it's for the authority, Andrea and I have all the files. We're able to direct that type of thing an hour a week, not bad, and be responsive in that matter. But if it's anything about your individual city utility departments, if there's something in that, if there's some sort of administrative function, one thing they did want to make sure is while they are willing to do administrative aspects of the project, they don't want it to be just a purely administrative issue, right? Like they don't want their grad students just flipping through boxes and things like that. There's a 600-person wait list for this program right now. It started off smaller. They had 400 people last semester, and there's 600 kids that are 600 students adults that are waiting, and it's billed as, and a lot of universities are doing this, right? This is your resume, kind of sets you apart, right? So when you go in and graduate and you go in an interview, somebody's like, great, you have a degree, but what do you do? Right? You can say, hey, I have real world experience because this was my objective and my team jumped in there and this is what we did and here are obstacles. And somebody goes, oh, great, you're not as new, you've got a little something to distinguish you. So that's why they're all trying to get involved in this program.
Yeah, it's a great program. We've actually used it twice. You remember with Georgia Tech, we've had it twice and worked with them twice to invest in kids. I'm willing, definitely want to entertain my fellow board members' thoughts on it, but it seems as though it might be more amenable for each city to determine if there's something they can work with for their respective city, because I don't see how, 10 weeks and you're having to break it up into pieces, and by the time you give, there are a lot of moving parts to the authority. By the time you, give it to them, minus who's gonna, be able to, work with them. But that 10-week period, that's, this is a problem that's been going on for years. So, but it does seem like there might be value for the individual cities, because we've talked about that. We talked about the challenges that we still have in addition to the authority, tapping on how we're gonna do that. You know, and those are ways that we can consider investing in this initiative, and at the same time, helping the authority, but being realistic about the return, getting the best return from it. Just my thought, but you had a question?
So I will tell you, we have just finished 4 projects with Georgia Tech this last semester, which they did amazing. They're undergrad students, but their team leads are, they also have a grad student that they work with. So they're not just out there willy-nilly kind of figuring it out on their own, plus the coordinator. But the more you can niche down your need, and I think that if we identify the overarching what we want to achieve as the authority and how each city has their piece to add to that puzzle, that might be what helps us get to the finality of what we need, because they can, the thing that they did for the city of Atlanta, they do a presentation at the end of the semester so that you can see what the projects were. That City of Atlanta project, Atlanta had it on their website before the semester was over.
Well, it's
It was
also
that good.
competition. So
Yeah.
all the kids are, all the students are also, all the students are also looking for like the biggest pizzazz, right? So they do their projects, but at the end, they get to do the presentation,
Yep.
and there's a competition. So everybody's looking to win the competition as well.
Yeah, it's a
And
great program.
Andrea and I have also helped other clients use, other resources, whether it's Georgia Tech or University of Georgia. Like grad students and undergrad students that are wanting real life experience are really affordable, but free most of the time. And they always do have some supervision, so it is a great resource to be able to get some movement.
Good for the cities to know, can determine. Member Slayton?
I really like the scope that y'all put together, though.
Okay, yeah, we do, page 2, we've got, I guess.
We came up with a couple of things that we thought were authority-based, but also could be based on, or dialed down a little bit more into each city.
So we came up with 4 challenges and then scopes under each of the challenges that would help address that, that challenge. I'm sorry, before we keep going, did you have a question?
No, I was just saying, we were talking about the scope, and I really like what y'all put together anyways. But I do agree it would be beneficial to have a group out in each city trying to, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's just so many projects that you could put them on. So for affordability, right, that is our challenge, right? You've got a project, you've got a permit, you got land, but affordability is an issue. And so some of the things we thought that these students could do would be to help survey water rates. Because yes, $10 per 1,000 gallons seems like a lot, but maybe it's not. I mean, what are other metro?
The survey I really like.
What are other communities that just built a water treatment facility? What are they having to charge? So you have some perspective there. Population projections, yours are about 5 years old for this authority. So we could have them redo those projections, because if we're showing more customers long-term, it reduces the water rate. So maybe it becomes more affordable if we expect more people to live here. Same with industrial growth, right? The more companies you have using more water spreads the cost out over, the industries and more people, and it could reduce the water rate that way too. Also, this would all kind of tie into what SP was talking about. If you did a formal rate study, these are kind of the key components that go, into that.
Yeah.
Challenge 2, connectivity. You've already touched on this. Each of the 3 cities has to connect to the authority system, and this is just a big unknown for us. It always has been. What is it going to take to connect? And could these Georgia Tech students work with your utility departments to map, or, I mean, they were telling us in the city of Marietta, they totally digitized all their traffic data. And so could they help you digitize where your pipes are, where your meters, could they just,
Help together where you had a real, you had updated GIS, you had Excel spreadsheets to be able to put into models, things like that, that your regular staff probably does not have time on a regular basis to do.
and would cost tens of thousands of dollars.
And I really like
That's
the
what it is, it's not hiring somebody.
Yeah,
rate survey. I mean, that's something that truly would benefit all cities.
yes. You want to do the last 2?
One of our last projects.
And then the other 2, we had just organizational, if there's things about implementing new systems or the types of things to make sure that everybody is getting the information, the organization that needs to be done. These haven't been vetted by Valerie either. These were us just saying, hey, these are some of the things that we've had discussion the board members have discussed in open session that could satisfy a need, as well as public relations as far as like a website upgrade, educational marketing materials, things like that.
I mean, that one really depends on either the authority setting a vision or picking a project, because you've got to, what are you promoting, right? But, I mean, even if that's down the road, how awesome would it be to have a Georgia Tech student do a website? The one we have now is great for meeting those, advertising requirements and keeping, authority documentation, but, I mean, you could really do a lot. If you've got to increase water rates, you're gonna have to do public relations, so people understand why, and they understand that you're not the highest rate in the metro area, and all the things you're trying to understand, to convey to them, as well. So these were kind of our brainstorming, based on how much we know about the project and the challenges that we face, and then thinking, what's a data-driven deliverable for a Georgia Tech student? And that's, how we came up with this.
I think the first two, probably on the first two are probably a little bit more Georgia Tech, or more team-based, right? When you get to the website and things like that, I might be a little bit more difficult for a team to work on it and provide that amount of work.
I'll share with you, when they redid somebody's website in one of their presentations, each student, like two worked on how to create the funnels, and somebody worked on, so they divvied it up. That was one of the recommendations they had for us, and then I think this next cohort will pick up where the other one left off, take their report, and let us know how we can update our website, because that was one of their recommendations.
Yeah.
And they said, you can go ahead and turn it, Valerie said, as many as you want, you can go ahead and we'll start having the discussions as to what you want to ask for, how many teams you want to ask for, what the scopes are, and going back and forth. She does have time off when students are off, but she said for the next couple of weeks she'd be available to have those conversations. But
So, I mean, next steps for her would be for us to send her, our ideas, and then we go back and forth to narrow down the scope. And so, again, these were just ours. Happy to jot down yours, or you take them back and think about it and email out over, that next couple of weeks. I mean, just up to the board's pleasure as to how you want to handle this, if you want to go forward with this program.
I think we should, and I like yours.
I want to emphasize the timing, right? Because we're all
There.
getting ready to go to the holidays, and I don't have use it or lose it vacation like a lot of federal government employees do, so I'll be working a lot. But we are, she is going to be out, and so time is of the essence as far as if we're going to start working. Then coming back, especially right after the first of the year, we would be looking for the authority, if there's any authority projects, for you guys to be approving what those scopes are in the January meeting, so they can be turned in and she can start finding project teams, because they start February 1st.
That's what I was gonna ask.
February 1st.
But I think it's going to be very important for everybody that's sitting up here to make sure that we identify the people who they're going to, because it is a requirement, and they will tell you when they're available, and we have to make ourselves available, because we did miss a week because we were trying to gather information for them, and that, of course, that threw them off a little bit. It just made them have to work a lot harder. So just making sure that if there's the person in your city that you're going to identify, make sure that they really can get in contact with that person. I think there's like a 24-hour turnaround. It's like you have to respond to them within a certain amount of time,
Yeah.
them to keep on their track as well.
Maybe if you appoint two people, if one's out, the other,
Yeah.
And alternate.
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
I think this is a very refreshing opportunity, as Sonia shared.
You have to speak into the microphone.
Chair, I'm speaking into it as best I can. I'm not gonna break my neck. But anyway, we've used this opportunity before for our city, but I think this offers these students a real life work experience that they would enjoy, but also would take a lot of the burden off of the authority as well as our individual cities, because the city will benefit from an individual focus on things that we need to be doing, or something we may not have thought we should be doing. But also, one of the things I would suggest is any reporting as it relates to the authority. I think they should be working with the project managers who would be best suited for direction and creation of any scope or organizational needs for them. And certainly, once they came to the city, we would identify those individuals if that's something that we wanted to do. But I think it's a great opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions or comments?
They will be water users in the very near future. They're
Oh,
not
yeah, it's
already.
coming.
But that is what we were talking about, is they go to them unless they need a city, something from the city, specific city, correct?
So
But they ask, you know,
I would ask,
yeah.
yes, that is correct, but I would ask, just because it is a tight time frame in the direction that Andrea and I need, if you would like us, if this board would like us to send any of these back, or if you also have city-specific ones that you would like to have included.
I like this, and I really I like what you put together, and I really like the thought of digitizing. That would be amazing.
Can you also consider budgetary implications of what it will look like for you all to work with them? Because there's going to be that requirement, and again, we're probably not going to be the ones. Yeah, hours, and they add up quickly, over 10 weeks. You know, and if it's a weekly call and it's so many hours, does it require both of you to be on the call? How does, kind of, something so that we know that?
Andrea and I have not raised our rates in over a decade.
Yeah, but we don't want to get a bill for 100 hours either, so 100 hours a month either. So again, we know that there is a budgetary implication that will come with it, even if it's just from your end. So just making sure that we kind of know what that looks like up front as well, so that we don't get a surprise bill.
And I think some of that will be based on the project and depending on what type of direction.
How much hand-holding? What was your experience?
You know, they once we gave them our scope, theirs was just kind of plugging in the blanks. They were on it so quickly. It was just a matter of clarification on some things. You know, we modeled this and the numbers looked weird. Can you give us another, you know, are we sure we've got the right numbers? But they were very good about extracting as much information from the website, from all the different places for the many different projects. They came with information because they do their homework before they start. And then we just kind of filled in some gaps for them. And every week it was more an update, this is where we are, so that at the end of the 10 weeks, we weren't getting this long presentation. They were just giving us incremental steps along the way.
Okay, okay.
And for us, it was a little, I think it depends on the nature of the project, because for us, with our Public Works Department, it was a little bit more involvement. But it was great. The product in the end was really great, and we actually have used it, so.
Okay. Well, and we've outlined basically 4, maybe more. I don't know what Valerie's take's going to be on this, right? I've got multiple bullets under each thing. It's like, is each one a project or no? So, I mean, as written, we could potentially be managing 4 different projects at one time.
I'll just shamelessly do a plug that I really like, again, the rate survey. I really like the water lines because we talk about the construction side and the lift that it takes for that, but the tap in is the other unknown. And if this is a resource that we could use to help us with that, because that's gonna hit this, you know, that's gonna be a big hit to the cities. It's good, but that's just my thought.
And for the connectivity part, obviously, that would go back to having the commitment from each of your cities, that aspect.
Well, what we could do if we're good with it is send all these to Valerie, let her look at it with her expert eyes as to how she prefers these to be.
There's a rubric.
Yeah.
They'll
There,
send you-
yes.
yeah, there's a
Okay, so
rubric.
she'll help us narrow this down and let us know, you know, are the scopes too narrow, are they too broad, and what, you know, what pieces should we bite off at one time? So, okay, well, good.
Good deal, thank you.
Welcome. We did have one last thing. You know, Laura and I keep a running outline of the authorities' going-ons, right? So at the retreat a year and a half ago, we gave it to you. It's, I don't know, 25 pages, you know, with the dates and events and all those kind of things. We've updated that, you know, through this year. We know we've got some new board members coming on board starting in January. So our intent is to have that available in the agenda packet for the January meeting to hand out. And just wanted to offer whatever our new folks need from us as far as bringing them up to speed, happy to do that. We regularly, I feel like we regularly give the presentation we gave at Palmetto and Fairburn's work sessions this last year. We gave it to SP, we gave it to Valerie, so we've kind of got a canned presentation we could give to update those new members.
Right,
Yeah.
it's good.
Okay, there are no other questions. Thank you so much. We don't have any other business listed here. I guess that concludes our meeting.
May I ask 2 questions, please? One, Does the authority just never have a budget? Has the authority just never had one? I just think it's weird that as the cities, we have to have a budget, but the authority that has no kind of budget whatsoever.
That's one of the things that Post and Associates used to do, was to put together an annual budget based upon what they knew the costs were going to be for the upcoming year. That hasn't been done in several years.
Something we need.
Yeah, and as,
Yeah, how do we get that
Add that to
restarted?
your scope of services.
That was part of my question for the new people.
Okay.
good deal.
And lastly, I sent over the information for David Sawyer, who we've been looking for somebody to do the forensic audit. Did you all get that information? I sent it over.
Yeah, we did, but I think the issue was with last time the guidance or I think we approved it actually from the authority was that we were gonna work with the accountant so that the accountant could help us, determine a scope for the, forensic piece. Is that correct? Yes. And so that's where we left it, the body, that's where we left it as a body last meeting.
So
That's
when,
what we approved. So, and Nathan is working on that.
okay.
Yeah.
So so we have to wait until January in order for it to be presented to even talk about it. Because we've been kicking it down the road, and we found somebody who's capable, doesn't have any connection with the city. He's done forensic audits on water authorities before. He did the one in Newton County. He's very familiar with a water authority and probably a scope as well, just based on his knowledge. I had a great conversation with him. So what would it take for us to even have a conversation with, do we need the scope first before we even have a conversation with him? Is that what we're saying? And then that has to wait till January?
There was a good bit of discussion from the members that one of the things was, you may have said it, or either Member Phillips, was we want to make sure that we frame everything correctly for the forensic audit. And to make sure that we know what we want and what we're, what we need, and we need to do that with some hands on decks to assist us with. And so that's why I think the body decided at the last meeting to work, once we select the accountant, to make sure that we do that, because they're qualified to help us with that, to frame it out. And everybody was in agreement with that.
I'm just we're a month out, and then we're gonna go another 30 days. I don't wanna just keep pushing it out and just keep pushing it out, so.
We just made the decision last meeting. So hopefully we'll get to, because that was the hardest thing, trying to get a decision. And so last meeting, we made the decision. So hopefully we could, that's why I want to make sure we stick with it. We don't get off course. We make sure that we do that so that we can have everything framed, we can work with them, and we can move forward on it. Just made that decision last meeting. It took us that long to do it, but we made that decision as a body.
You want me to add them to my list?
Well, yeah, she just said that Councilman Slayton was doing it, so I thought it was already on your list.
Supposed to work with the Attorney Davenport based on the last meeting.
Talking about this, the
The
three that I
accountant.
got last meeting.
Right.
No, this is not for the financial
the
manager. This
forensic.
is for the forensic audit. I sent it in an email.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so that's something different.
So we said the accountant, once the accountant is engaged, we would work with the accountant to assist us in getting the forensic audit scope done, to make sure that we get everything that we needed. That's what the body decided last meeting. Okay. No other comments or discussion. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Okay, moved and second. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, we're standing.
We didn't say farewell to our.
We did. It's a long.
And somebody from.
Farewell, my love. Goodbye.
So we have to say
We sure do.
our farewell.
We sure do.
Yeah.
Let's start with you. We got to roast you, Mayor. Got to roast
Mary
you.
leaving, riding off.
He's throwing up the head.
It's been,